I asked on my Instagram stories, what do you want to learn about content? Which questions or doubts do you have? And one of the biggest returning questions was how to know what to post online and if it will work. And that question made me giggle a little bit. And I was like, well, no, that's too obvious to reply to. And then I thought, well, if so many people are asking me that question, maybe I need to dive into why this question is being asked and why this is so difficult, and give you a couple of tips on how to figure out what you should be posting online, and also basically how to get over yourself. Hello, and welcome to Fail to Win, a show where we love to make mistakes and learn from them so you can turn your passion into profits and live life on your own terms. I'm Amy van der Putten from FastForwardAmy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode with simple strategies every Tuesday. I have to be honest and say that the fact that you're listening to this episode means that you still think there's a perfect solution. You still think there is one thing you should be posting and there's one magical mathematical formula that is going to help you figure out what you should be posting. So I'm here to say, I get it, and I know you want to know what the perfect formula is, but in reality, it's dependent on so many things. For example, I have two Instagram accounts I use a lot. I have my FastForwardAmy account and I have my new Dutch account. And last week I posted the same video in two different languages on the two accounts. And on the one account, it did really well. And on the other account, no one cared. Now, is that because of the algorithm? Is it because the audience is different? It could be caused by multiple things or just by one thing, or it could be a glitch, but I can't know until I test it. And that's also something I want to tell you, is that you will never learn as much from theory as you will from testing shit out. So if you've been holding yourself back from trying because you're afraid you're going to be posting the wrong thing, I want to ask you, is that what you're really afraid of? Are you really afraid of posting the wrong thing? Or are you afraid of looking like an idiot, or that people are going to make fun of you? Because no one further ahead than you is going to be making fun of you. Truly, no one further ahead than you is going to be making fun of you. They're not looking at what you're doing. They're focused on themselves. So whenever you're doubting yourself, and I have to do this all the time if I'm being honest, I have to remind myself, what am I truly afraid of? Am I afraid of looking like an ass? I shouldn't be, because doing something is still far better than doing nothing and overthinking. And whenever I feel that self-doubt creep up, which is quite often, by the way, I think of the Olympics and I think of Simone Biles, who got so much hate online on everything she does, basically. She's this world's like the best gymnast ever. She does things literally no one has ever done before her. And what happens is she'll get hate comments about it. On Instagram, on social, on news platforms. But who is she getting the hate from? Is she getting that hate from other athletes? Hell no. She's getting hate from people who are sat on the couch, drinking beer, judging what she's doing while they're doing far and far less. So again, no one further ahead than you is going to be judging you. So if you've been waiting for an excuse, if you've been waiting for the perfect answer, don't let that stop you. And the perfect answer might not exist, but I am going to give you a couple of tips in this episode that are going to help you figure out what might be a better answer than not knowing what to post. So that's my first advice, is stop holding yourself back. I have this often with clients. Sometimes I have certain clients who are so focused on structure, and I'm a bit the same, by the way, that they kind of get stuck in their own brain because they want to know exactly what they need to do. And because they don't see the exact structure or exactly what they need to do, it holds them back from posting. And I'll always tell them, why won't you just test it? And then I'll ask more about that question. We'll dive into that, like what is actually holding you back from testing? And usually it is that either they're sick of it and they just want to have it done and not look at it again, or they are afraid of looking like an idiot or underperforming. I have that with YouTube, for example. I have a big Instagram account, I have a big following, and if I have to go to YouTube, I feel like I would suck at it, and that holds me back from doing it because I feel like I'm not allowed to be a beginner. So I'm here to just tell you, and I basically recently did start a new YouTube account. I've been doing so many new things, and I've just been taking the pressure off for myself. And I want to take the pressure off for you too. Maybe you've also been hesitant about stepping back into that beginner's mindset. Maybe it's because you have an offline business and you feel like an idiot when you create online content because you're not as good at it. Maybe you are venturing into a new platform or a new topic and you're just basically afraid of showing up as a beginner. And I want to tell you is that being able to get into the mindset of showing up as a beginner and having that mindset of always being willing to learn and being curious is one of the biggest gifts you could give yourself. So now that we've got that whole piece of mindset covered, let's talk about what you should be posting online. So first of all, we always want to know what our goal is. So what is your goal? Is your goal to convert your current following into buyers, or is it to attract a new following? Usually it's a bit of both, and what people stumble into are actually basically those two pillars. In the past couple of episodes, I've already talked a lot about how to attract new people, how to nurture people, how to sell. So basically how to do this, you can just go and check out those episodes. But I think it is important to know what your main target is. For example, one of my accounts, I know that I'm good at selling, but I know that I tend to forget to attract new leads. So I really need to have that as a goal. So I'll set a goal for myself. For example, I'll look at my new following from the past month and I'll set a new goal for this month. You can do the same. Then I'll go and identify who my ideal client is. And I have a lot of fluffy exercises you could apply to that, but I have a really simple exercise. It's basically just like, who would you like to work with? For me, for example, I like working with a past version of me, and I like working with, for example, a 30-year-old entrepreneurial woman who has many, many ideas and she wants to have an online income, but she's really bad at getting organized and she tends to overthink, and then she has all of these ideas and they never come to life because she can't seem to execute any of them and she's not disciplined enough. So what I do when I'm looking at my ideal customer avatar or my ideal client profile, I will just think of certain people I know that I've worked with that I like. I'll think of myself in the past. I think of myself now. Shit I like seeing with other people, if that fits what you're selling, obviously. And I'll identify who she is and what she wants to accomplish. And then I'll add a without. For example, without burning out, without ever doing XYZ, without trading her time for money, stuff like that. So I'll always add this little without, so I know what she wants to achieve and I also know what she doesn't want anymore. And then I'll put that one sentence like on my screensaver or something, so I always know who I'm talking to. So you have a goal, for example, new following, then you know who you want to reach. Make sure you have at least one profile that you know you're thinking of, and you can literally just think of one specific person who's following you already if you want to. And then you're going to do a little research. You can do this on Instagram, TikTok, whatever channels you prefer. And you're going to look up stuff in your sector and look at who the big names are, if they are currently growing, how they grew, because how people grew is not always how growth is right now. You're going to do some research of the top performing formats. I have to do this myself every couple of months. I don't like to look at my competition all the time, but I do set aside some time for it. Let's say every quarter, I look at what's trending and I'll look at what my biggest competition in the world is doing and which types of content they are publishing. And then I'll see if I can find my own vibe and things maybe I've had as ideas. And I'll basically commit to, let's say, 3 types of content. So maybe that will be a talking reel. Maybe that could be like a quote or a carousel, whatever. You just don't need 10 different types of content. Just commit to 3 and then test them for 30 to 100 days. You're testing. And then from those tests, you optimize. So every Monday you sit down, you look at how did my content perform? Which content performed really well, which didn't perform well, why is that? And you start tweaking, and you do this every week, every month, and you're going to get better. The only way to know what to post is just by doing the research, by talking to your ideal client, and by optimizing. And I do have some extra tips. So sure, that's all of the theoretical side of things and the mindset side of things. But if we're looking at it at a very, very practical level, I will also add that in general, people post way too much about solutions and not nearly enough about symptoms and pains. So for example, I can say, hey, I have this 5-step framework to teach you how to make more money, which sounds good. It's a good solution. Nice. But I could also make a video about 3 reasons you're broke, or why you're overspending, or a little skit about all of a sudden it's the end of the month and you don't have any money left, stuff like that. Symptoms and pain points tend to do much better in terms of attracting a new audience than solutions will. So if you look at your content, you're probably always talking value because you've learned that you need to educate people and you need to be posting about value, but you're not talking nearly enough about the pain points people are actually experiencing, which is often because you are already past those pain points. For example, for me, I struggle creating content about starting a personal brand or starting an online business because I'm so far ahead. I'm not worried about starting anymore. I'm not worried about the same things anymore as my ideal customer avatar. But for example, the person who asked this question, how to know what to post online and if it will work, is someone who is my ideal client. So I don't vibe into this question, but now that I'm talking about it, I have to be honest and I have to see like, oh, maybe I do struggle with this sometimes. Oh, I used to have this, and oh, maybe this resonates with me in this way. But if he's asking me that question, then I'm going to make this content for him because it's not about me. It's about my ideal customer. And maybe if he's asking me that question, I could also create a funny video about what it feels like if you see 10 people post shit and then you have all of these ideas and then you end up not posting any of your ideas because you're so overwhelmed, for example. And then that video would probably do really well because people would forward that to their friends. They'd be like, oh my God, that's me. So content that resonates with people, that makes them feel like, oh my God, that's me. Or, oh my God, I want to change that. Or, haha, do you recognize me? Like, or things that they want to save because it resonates so much. This is the type of content you want to start adding. If you don't know what to post online and if it will work, I guarantee you talking about symptoms, your ideal customer experiences, is one of the things that is going to get you the highest amount of views and shares. And that is what you want, because that's a really important metric right now, is actually shares. Okay, now that we've talked that through, this is a really short episode. I actually still have a couple of other things I want to go out and do, but I did want to share this with you and I hope it helps. And I hope you really think about symptoms. What are symptoms people experience? And again, it's the difference between saying this is how you can sleep better versus it's not normal that you're always snoozing and can't get out of bed. It might be that you have a cortisol problem and people are like, what? I have a cortisol problem? I had no idea. People really don't know they have problems. You need to pinpoint their symptoms so that they start realizing they have problems because they don't know that it's not normal. If you thought this was interesting, I guarantee you there's so much more I can teach you about creating content efficiently and attracting new clients with your content. If you haven't checked out my previous episodes of the Millionaire Content Secrets, they're the previous episodes on the podcast. Make sure you go and check them out. And if you haven't heard about it yet, so I used to work with a lot of copywriters. I still work with copywriters, but I took back a couple of content pieces of my podcast, actually, beginning of the year. And then, with the rise of AI and ChatGPT, I started experimenting how I could use ChatGPT to help me with my emails and my carousels. And if I could, use it to help me figure out titles and stuff. And I've gotten to this point where I can create a new podcast episode in about half an hour. And then another 30 minutes, I can create all of the copy for my podcast with my strategic inputs and a prompt I've written, and create about 10 deliverables from that podcast. That means I can get a quote out of it, a newsletter, a carousel, all of that. And I want to teach you how I do that because I truly believe that you don't need to spend a lot of money on outsourcing or systems in order to build a business that is being driven by content, because content can get you from 6 to 7 figures. I promise you, I've done it with clients over and over again. So if you want to know how to do that with ChatGPT and just create more content from the content you already have, basically almost for free, I'm going to give you my tutorial, my content tutorial, fully for free. The only thing you need to do is just go to my Instagram, FastForwardAmy, and DM me the word buddy, and you're going to get my content buddy tutorial, because that's how I currently use AI, like my content buddy, and I can't wait to show you how I'm doing that and how much time this can save you and how much more consistent you'll be with your content once you start applying this. If sending me a DM with buddy on Instagram isn't working, just head to the link in the description of this episode and just go to fastforwardamy.com/content buddy, download the tutorial and get ready to get your mind blown, because what I'm going to teach you, you will never be able to unknow it, okay? Good luck, and see you next week in another episode of the Fail to Win podcast. Bye! You want to make money on Instagram, but you're not exactly sure what you actually need in order to make that happen. Chances are you're creating content and you're trying different things, but it seems to not really click together, and you're wondering why those other people are getting in all of those sales, but you aren't. Well, in reality, even if you're only selling for 30 euros every day, that's an extra 1,000 a month if you can make it work. But so many people actually can't because they don't see the full picture and they are missing one key element. That's why I've made the Instagram income map for my clients, which is a PDF workbook that you can go through in 1 hour. You'll discover the 8 building blocks that determine whether you just attract clients on Instagram or just talk about sales, or that you can actually go from attracting clients to getting in sales every single day. And I want that for you. So you can go and grab the workbook now, available for only 27 euros for a limited time. Go to fastforwardamy.com/income map and I'll send it over to you instantly, or click the link in the description of this episode.